last year. 671 were actual transport runs. If you multiply that by the $800 we get per run, it should come out to $536,000 into our budget. The actual income that we got, $163,409. It's leaving a deficit of $378,991. The major reason we're not getting our full income is Medicare. Medicaid is only paying roughly $125 of the $800 ambulance run. Along with the fact that we don't hard bill our residents. So if we respond to your house, you'll get a bill. We take what your insurance pays, which is generally, $300, $350. But we don't ever send another bill out. So you'll never get a statement from a billing company that says you owe this, or we have never turned it over to collections. So that's where our shortfall is coming up with. Part of our regular operating budget for the fire department, $180,000 of the Life Squad billing money goes towards our general budget. So with that, having a shortfall, we figured on, with going to advanced life support, that we should have at least $75,000 extra dollars, which we didn't get this year. We didn't even make the mark for the $180,000. So we're in a deficit right now with advanced life support. We really didn't raise a whole lot of things on the budget. A few minor things. There is a 3% pay increase, and the reason is we have to keep up with the neighboring departments. We're fortunate enough not to have to pay medical benefits into the state retirement. Nobody's full-time. We're able to do this with all part-time employees, so we have to give them a little bit extra money to stay with us, as opposed to going to Erlanger with a full-time job, or Edgewood. There's several jobs out there right now that are going unfilled because the paramedic pool is just kind of drying up. So, are there any questions about the budget? I know it's, like I said, it's kind of a hefty increase. It's still less than what Erlanger was proposing. They were averaging about a 7 to 8% increase every year. In 2014, the Villa Hills portion was going to be $86,000 if we were with Erlanger. And then if you had another 5 to 7% on top of that, as well as they no longer have a chase car. They just provide paramedics for their city.
Is there any fix for this, Jeff, for the Medicare, Medicaid part?
I don't foresee that in the future. I mean, the Medicaid and the Medicare is an Obama kind of thing, and you're going to get what they pay you, and it's a government thing. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately for Villa Hills, a lot of our ambulance runs go to Madonna Manor, and most of those people are on Medicare or Medicaid. That's the majority of our runs. With the other effect that Crescent Springs seems to get some more car accidents and that sort of thing. Car accidents are automatic pay. So as soon as we send the bill in, it comes from the insurance company. So that, it's a tough situation with the nursing home.
What about the unincorporated area? Do we get many calls there?
We do. Matter of fact, one of the unincorporated that do not pay, we made a run there just 2 days ago. They will get a bill, and I'm checking with our billing company to make sure they get hard billed, so that we get our full amount. We get quite a few calls. International Village, Running Creek, they pay their share, the apartment buildings. We make a lot of runs there. As far as R.A. Jones and the businesses out on that end, we make our share of runs there too.
Are we getting, I know for a long time you struggled to get anything out of them. Are you actually receiving any funds
There's
from
still
R.A.
two
Jones?
businesses that have not paid, which is Signature Hardware and PBC Supply.
And are they in the city?
They're not in the city. They're in the county. So we can't force them to pay. We send them a contract every year that says, if you don't pay and the fire truck shows up, you pay $250 an hour per piece of fire equipment. We had that happen at Signature Hardware, where 4 fire trucks pulled up, they got a bill, and they paid the bill, but the bill still didn't cover the amount that they should pay for fire protection.
why doesn't Erlanger, I'm just asking general questions, Jeff, why wouldn't Erlanger cover that then if it's unincorporated and it's between us?
They've approached Erlanger about that. The fire, there's two sides to that. Fire departments don't like to step on each other's toes, so that's one reason. The other is we have a map in Frankfurt that has our fire protected area, and we are the only ones that are allowed to cover that area. Unless we say, Erlanger, we don't want them, they're not paying, take them. That's not the case. We'll take the billing money, But if Erlanger, if they went to Erlanger, and they did, they're paying a lot higher property tax rate. So Erlanger can't give a break to Signature Hardware on this side of the road, and then their own in their own city, they've got to pay their regular tax rate, which came out, like for instance, Signature Hardware, I think came out to about $6,000 more than they would be paying us if they were with Erlanger.
But they're not paying us anything unless you
They're not
show
paying,
up.
no, they're not paying.
So they're not paying anything.
They're not paying for police protection, snow removal, just like the houses on Highwater Road, they do the same thing. We send them a bill for $100 for fire protection. They're getting free police service, free fire service, free snow removal, that kind of thing, so.
And
Where's
do they
the
pay the
county
$100?
on this?
What's that?
Do they pay the $100?
Some do, some don't, and the ones that don't, if we go there, they get a bill.
And is it a hard bill?
It's not right now, we could actually put a lien on the property if they don't pay the bill. That has not happened yet.
Have you thought about hard billing?
Yeah, the ambulance run a few days ago, they're getting a hard bill. And we'll deal with our billing company and they'll turn it over to collections and that kind of thing. Because we've been dealing with them for, they've refused to pay for, I've been chief for 8 years. At least 10 to 12 years they've refused to pay.
So is there penalties on that bill if they don't pay? Where's the county in all this?
I asked Judge Arlinghouse a couple of years ago about some help on this because they give Erlanger Police $10,000 to cover R.A. Jones and that area. And he said it's something we could talk about. It never really came to anything.
I think
But you never reapproached me?
No.
the problem is, even if we fix this county unincorporated area, it doesn't fix our real problem, and the real problem is ALS.
Right.
Mhm.
So hopefully we can come up with an answer, but I think what you're telling us is that we better plan on this level of expense on a going forward basis, right?
I don't see it going up any higher than what this is because this
Right.
covers, what we planned on was getting a much higher rate from our squad billing. It's just not coming in. So it's not gonna get any higher than what this is.
I don't think we can afford to handle this.
And your vehicles, how often do you replace them? I
The
mean, what
ambulances,
kind
we replace those every 7 years. The engines, we're on a 25 to 30 year replacement.
And then like trucks and things that you all drive, is that?
It depends on the wear. Right now, one of the assistant chiefs driving a 2000 Expedition with 100 and something thousand miles on it. My car's a 2005, there's a 2010. So it depends on the need. If it's not safe to drive, then we'll replace it. But there's not a major purchase in the next 5 to 6 years.
Want to buy a Durango?
I'm sure the Durango's much worse than that.
Yeah, it is. I haven't even seen yours, but I can tell you it's.
One of the things I'd like to see is a list, your annual expenses and stuff. Like, you know how we have a monthly budget? Do you guys have that
We do.
broke down?
Sure.
I got a list of your budget, your revenues, but it really didn't have anything to do with expenses. If you
Yeah,
could-
the city clerk had asked me
Okay.
for the budget over the last
couple of
5
years.
years, and I think I gave you 8 or 9 or something. But
Yeah.
Yeah, the minutes from the fire authority, every month they have what we spent for the month, and what we're getting as far as revenue, and our auditor suggested that we come up with a finance committee. We did that,
I heard
and
you mention that or
you know,
something.
every 15 minutes before every fire authority meeting, we go over the bills.
We put controls in last year about
Right.
authorities for signing checks. We put some really tight financial controls in last year. I think we did a lot to shore things up,
We did.
just to make
Yeah.
things better.
Yeah, well, that's not, make sure we understand, that's not even a question of.
No,
from our perspective.
no, I understand. It's
don't
your
want
money,
that.
I hope that you want to know where it's going.
No, not at all, that's not even a concern.
Mayor, you do have that budget, expense budget.
Do I?
It's on the
It's a
second
separate
tab, second tab of that spreadsheet.
I'll look at it then, okay. I don't remember seeing it, it's probably one of many, so.
The last
Don't
one
send
that
me
I got was
anything.
just a draft, did they come out with a newer one?
I'll send you
Remember you-
tonight, Alice.
Look at the
Okay.
second tab, FD expense, it's got it by category.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll look, that's, other questions for now?
I guess it should be noted that big chunks of the budget are flat. So, obviously maintenance costs go up year over year and a couple of the utilities we don't have any control over, but she's got a number of the areas of the budget staying flat, so.
Yep, and one of the things, to be honest, I was anticipating giving it a reduction in cost this year,
Mhm.
expense, but I'm open to that, understanding the situation. I'm looking at the annual budget we're gonna talk about in a couple minutes. Every department has gone down,
Sure.
and I was hoping to ask that of you guys. That might not be feasible, so we'll have to figure it out. We could get into a real good, long debate if we want
Sure.
about splitting all that stuff, but I don't think we're in the time for that right now.
Don't drag him in a split discussion. He's a
I know
neutral
that,
party.
that's why I'm only going there with it, that he doesn't need to, and doesn't want to be in the politics of the
No,
whole thing,
I
because
know.
it's a nightmare.
Well, the other thing to remember is
So,
they
I
haven't
get
had
it.
an increase in 3 years from us.
Mhm.
That we're paying less than we would have paid had we stayed where we were. And I don't think anybody can argue about the service we're getting.
And that's never been a question. Never.
And that's one thing that is not included in this budget is the amount that you were paying to Erlanger for paramedics. That's not even in that mix, so that was quite a bit of money. And the car came from Erlanger, which is an extra 5 minutes away, so.
Right. Just a shock, and I think for all of us,
Sure.
I mean, it's
I'm
not
sure it
something
is.
that.
And it was a shock for me that, we're expecting, and Jim and I met with our billing company and said, where's the money? Why is it not here? And they broke it down and basically said, you can only expect this much. We're at $800, what we bill per run, and that's the maximum we can be at. And we only get, sometimes a quarter of that, or even, an eighth.
Just out of curiosity, have we ever had communication with some of the other local departments around here and how are they doing?
Everybody's in the same boat. And it's hard to compare us to other departments because, for instance, you take Edgewood, which is the same department size as ours. Their fire department doesn't pay for the building, they don't pay for the electric, they don't pay the gas, because that's all under the city building and it's all one thing. So, our budget being in the $800,000 range, when we're running a separate building and maintenance and all that, it's hard to compare that.
I'm not comparing, I'm just talking about receipts from Medicare and stuff,
It's the
that's
same.
all,
Yeah.
that's all I'm looking for.
Everybody's
Yeah.
in the same boat.
Every fire department, the way it's designed is different, the way it's housed. or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yes, I understand that, so.
The other thing that we're different is, like I said, we're not paying benefits, so that's huge, especially the state retirement.
We know.
The other thing, it's easy to, I just assumed that we had a billing company that wasn't doing their job. They weren't following up, they weren't doing this, they weren't doing that, and I met with them. They get paid by what we receive, not by what we bill.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's in
plenty
their
of
best
incentive,
interest,
yeah.
to go get this stuff. It just isn't gettable. Medicare, Medicaid just won't pay it.
What about their supplement insurance? A lot of older individuals have a supplement.
Our billing company is very good about reaching out and grabbing every dime they can
Okay.
get. So they know, the scary kind of thing is if we make an ambulance run to your house, once we capture your information, you're in their system forever. So they know what insurance you have and supplemental and.
Okay, any other questions, thoughts, comments? Thank you,
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's half a case left of 7. If anybody wants a water, there's some in the refrigerator, I didn't get them out, I apologize.
I was gonna-
Next on the agenda is the budget for 2014-15. I I don't have the breakdown and the details of it. This is just a expenses and revenue side. I will have that probably in the next couple days. I think Jim's got it already, with the exception of where the additional approximately, what, Jim, 260?
268.
268 will fall. Going into this year's budget thus far with no wish list or capital projects or anything else, we're looking at having a $268,000 additional or surplus. So that will come down. I know that we're gonna need another cruiser. I know that we're probably gonna need some equipment in Public Works. There are things that we wanna do. So I will fine tune those in the next couple days and put them in there. I am, I think, putting the budget together and proposing it as a, pretty much a revenue and expense, just like we did it before. I personally still don't see a problem doing it that way, especially with the way our finances are evaluated every month through the Finance Committee. If we didn't have those checks and balances, I could have a lot more concern about it, but we did it the same way for 48 years, and it's only been changed the last couple of years, last 4 years, 3 years. Do these numbers pretty much reflect everything you see, Jim? Like revenues and stuff like that from what we had?
Yeah, I would suggest, though, that we budget a surplus. And the reason I say that is because I think there are some things that are not in this budget that we're gonna have to deal with. Spiking is the #1 issue.
Yep.
And I have no idea what that's going to be. And whether it will, in fact, be, I don't know. I did speak to the auditor to find out exactly how this will work. And if we're not billed before the audit is complete, then they have no problem with us putting it into next year, if in fact it happens. Right now, we don't know if, we don't know when, we don't know any amount, we can't even guess. So I think that's a big deal, and I think we probably ought to budget a surplus for that reason. The other thing that's not in there is unrestricted road expense. We typically budget the AMA, vehicle license fee, but there's nothing in there now for that stuff that is not restricted. In the past, we did have something in there, and there's nothing in this budget for that. There's nothing in there for emergencies, but that's pretty simple. The salt breakout that you requested is not in here. So if we need to add a line item for salt, that's going to dig into that surplus amount. And right now, this thing is based on a property tax increase of 0.
We do have 450,000 in there for roads though. There's 50,000 more than there was.
Okay, so that would take care of the salt basically. 50 more, 450.
What we said was that we would restrict 175,000, which was the increase for the insurance premium tax.
We rolled the insurance premium to that number versus the vehicle sticker fee.
And then the vehicle license fee was reduced to 75,000 under the assumption that we're going to collect something this year, but we don't know how much.
Right.
And everybody saw that letter from the county that they are not going to collect our vehicle license fee starting 7/1. So that's gonna put a real, our admin staff is gonna be working overtime to get that stuff done.
Yep. We're actually starting on getting
And
the
that
stuff
is still
together.
January 1.
Correct.
Correct.
At this
And
point, unless this council or the next council decides to change that
Right.
Well, and I think that's gonna come up,
later down the list here.
yeah, on number 10, so we get to discuss that when we get there.
Okay.
So anyway, this is really preliminary, and keep in mind, we've only got 3 meetings left. And we need 2 meetings to pass this, so.
Unless we do a first reading tonight, which I'm not sure when you said you wanted to restrict, did you want to add money in there? Did you want to restrict money for surplus, Jim, or did you just want to roll it into surplus and call it a surplus line and move it?
I want to have a revenue number that's higher than our expense number, that's what I want. But I also want to detail by department, and I also want to break out attorney's fees, so I know I'm not going to get what I want. I've already been down this road.
Okay. you know, do you have a number in mind, Jim, to use out of the 268? I mean,
We have come up with numbers that go from 0 to 250,000 for the spiking.
right, and I know, exactly, I mean, we don't know what it is.
But we do have, when we get the bill, is it not correct, we have a year to pay that?
That's what we've been told,
That's what we've been told.
correct.
So it's not like we have to pay it all.
Well, we,
Well, don't forget though, we have to book it. Doesn't
We have to
matter what we
what?
pay,
Gotta
we
be
have to
booked.
book it. It's a
look at it as a
liability.
liability.
Right,
Now, we'll
Right.
probably appeal it. I mean, unless it's $2,000 or something, we'll probably pay it,
Right.
but if it's a big number, we're gonna appeal it.
yeah.
right.
So you were gonna try to get a first reading this tonight?
Well, that's what I was looking for, but we don't, I mean, I just wanna make sure we get this done because we're running out of time. If we wanna change these numbers up, we can still do that tonight and still make it a first reading. If you would like to take,
I haven't even seen a wish list yet.
the wish list was, pretty much the vehicles, is what I've seen. And you're not getting
You got
120.
one?
Well, I
I
thought that
sent
was
you
a
yours.
joke.
Yeah, keep dreaming.
Part of it was.
Well, we could have first reading at the council meeting on.
You know
That's
which
fine,
part.
we'll
And
do
then
first
we have
reading
two
next.
meetings after
Then
that to pass it.
I'm fine with that.
All right.
Yep. I'll get the wish list out. I'll actually put in a few of the items that I'm gonna enter into the budget. I would anticipate sitting here that out of the 268, I'm thinking that we're gonna probably add about 110 in there from the wish list, roughly 100 to 110. And that'll still leave us roughly 150.
Is Mary's salt part of the wish list, or is that in addition?
No, that's into the 450 already.
Increase in public works.
It is in 450?
Yes. That's where I am viewing, yes. She's getting an extra 50,000 on top of it.
Okay, but we're going down 25,000 on the, general fund, so really, I'm just at a 25,000 lower instead of, right? Is that how I understand it?
You lost
Because
your
normally we
25.
get 200,000, we usually have 400,000.
But you're getting
But-
175 and 75, so you're actually getting 250.
Right, if we take in the 75.
Right. And it's a guessing game, but we have, I think, you know what I mean, it is, I
That's
think we'll be fine.
That's fine.
I
I
think-
mean, you know, we just,
Because I think the 175 might come in at 187 or something like whatever the 2%
It
is.
doesn't matter what we get, okay? We have to
we
budget
just have
the
to budget
expense.
for it,
Right.
yeah.
So we might get more that we could actually use. We would just have to modify it.
Yeah, we know if we can get 75 for the vehicle license, if we can get all these numbers,
I
then
think
it's
we
all,
will.
because I anticipate we're gonna have a nice, easy winter next year. So we're not gonna need.
Like this year?
No.
Okay.
Well, we can put that in the budget.
Would you,
Nice winter.
would you, if you can make that happen, that would be real
Okay.
But I would anticipate Kim just looking roughly, putting about 150 if you want to the surplus line item, roughly, you know what I mean? And I will come back with some numbers. Initially, what I'm looking at is a new cruiser, probably a Bobcat, and that's gonna take up 65 or 70 of it right there.
good. Well, he's got a thing for $8,000 for a Bobcat.
$8 grand,
I think so.
80 or 8
8.
for a new
No,
Bobcat?
no, for our old,
Buyer, you mean, or,
yeah,
okay,
trading.
trading. So.
He's got it in writing, I believe, it's around 8,000 or.
But, so those are just a couple of the items off the top of my head, Jim, and that's the bulk of what we will be spending. I know we need some new computers over in the PD, those are minor $1,000 items, but, the big ticket items.
So
So,
are you planning on putting that 150 towards
really just in the bank, if you will, it's there and available if something comes up,
just more surplus?
until we determine what's gonna happen with the spiking. And I would agree with Jim that, you know, because my initial thought was we could use more for roads, which we all wanna do. But since we don't know what the spiking is, I'm a little concerned.
Well, we need some beautification.
I look good, thank you.
Can we vote?
Seriously, I
No.
can't stand
We
it.
vote on that?
The weed.
No, thank you.
Beautification?
No?
Did
What I
anybody
said.
bring
looks
up
good.
Parks and Recreation? I have not heard anybody talk about my wish list.
I have your wish list. The number you sent me an email, but I have some other things, because I've already approved some of those things, whether they come out of this year's budget or not. My might have to get rolled into next year, depending upon when it gets done. And
Sit down
I'll give
and
those
talk.
numbers to Jim, on what we anticipate spending this year, roughly. On bigger ticketed items, about another 35,000 roughly. And some of it's already been spent and or installed, like the key fobs and stuff. It hasn't come through, but it's in the budget. You know, it's just out of our operating cost.
That won't be as much though, does it?
No, I'm just talking about before the end of the year. This is just an FYI that where we're looking at. So,
We need to do something about this year's budget anyway, potentially.
Correct.
Get financials to.
Yep. That's correct.
Before we leave the budget issue, is the feeling of the council that you want to go back to this format? I mean, I know that we've been down this road. I know I don't have the backing to go back to what we had before. So I'm just trying to get a feel, since we're in caucus, what do you want to do with this budget?
My honest opinion, if I knew all of us were gonna be sitting here next year, I wouldn't have trouble with this budget. But since we don't know who's gonna be here, I would like it broken out. I would
I'm
like
not gonna present it that way, just so you know.
Wow, I would like it somewhat broken out. As far as legal fees being out there by themselves, I don't particularly,
I'm not amending the budget 3-4 times.
well, I
It just didn't
understand
make
that.
sense.
I
We're wasting
understand
money.
that.
I
But
agree,
I'm
understand,
just,
respect.
I'm just, want to be sure taxpayers' dollars spent correctly.
How many budget amendments have we had so far because we have it broken out?
2 so far, to my understanding. Is that not, well, no, one was because of the surplus, wasn't it, for the,
We haven't had any.
right. Well, another thing that helped us a lot was being able to move the code enforcement and civil service legal fees.
I get that.
Otherwise, we would have had amended 2 or 3 times.
All right, but my point is, we're not gonna have time to go through this more than one time. So I'd like to, I mean, we need to talk about this, guys, or else this budget could be presented and shot down, and then we don't have any time. We're gonna be in emergency meetings.
I love them. I want more emergency meetings, I just love them.
Good for you. What's your thoughts, Brian? Go around the table.
I'm comfortable either way. Whatever's easier. Is there, what's everybody's thoughts?
Well,
I
I
think
think the
everybody knows my
taxpayers have a right to know where the money's going.
Well, I don't think there's any.
And if it goes,
Wait a minute.
if it goes back to
I
the
think
old
there's
way,
a monthly
Yeah,
statement
yeah,
that's in
right
every
down.
dime.
Well, I
So
don't
more
even know,
difficult
I
to read.
don't have what you have.
Is it more difficult to read? Well, a little bit, yeah. But I don't think there's any question that the taxpayers are gonna know where the money's going. I don't think that's an issue. I really don't. What I wanna do is I wanna tie this budget to a departmental breakdown so that we can control where the money's spent. I'm not saying that people won't know that, I mean, certainly they will.
That's fine.
Okay.
I
We'll always
agree.
see the numbers.
I agree, I think we need to have it broken down by department.
Now,
Yeah.
some
The one
of the
piece of
line
the whole-
items, I think, can be merged, i.e.
Right,
especially
like mine,
recreation,
yeah,
that
and I've asked that,
you don't leave all
Departmental,
that
we're talking
stuff.
department.
But
Yeah,
Breakdown.
five,
Yeah.
basically 5 numbers.
yeah.
Well, restricted, and then one for each.
But that still gives us some element of control over them.
And you don't think that's not how you want it?
Correct.
Well,
And it's a difference of opinion, all
No
it is.
disrespect, it's our budget.
Correct. You either approve it or don't. Well, no, it's my budget for you guys to either approve or not to approve.
And if we don't approve it, we submit a different budget, which has happened in the past.
Correct.
I like it.
All right.
Okay, well, I think that everybody wants a departmental budget from the sounds of it, Jim.
Well, it'll be in that format, you guys can decide what you want to do. You want to do the first reading.
Yep. All right, next we have a first reading of ordinance 2014 L. Usually turn it over to the attorney for the ordinances.
Ordinance 2014 L, draft. Should find some water. An ordinance of the City of Villa Hills in Kent County, Kentucky, amending Chapter 34 of the city's municipal code of ordinances titled Personnel by deleting sections 34.04 through 34.15 and repealing ordinances 2010-6, 2010-8, 2011-1, 2011-8 in their entirety. And we have two whereases that are blank, will be filled in. Be it ordained by the City of Villa Hills, Kentucky, Section 1, Chapter 34 of the city's municipal code of ordinances is hereby amended by deleting sections 34.04 through section 34.15 to read as follows. Thank you. I'm not going to read the deletions.
Thank you.
Section 2, ordinances 2010-6, 2010-8, 2011-1, and 2011-8 are hereby repealed in their entirety. Section 3, the effective date of this ordinance will be July 15, 2014. Section 4, any and all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance shall be and hereby are repealed to the extent of said conflict. Section 5, the provisions of this ordinance are severable, and the invalidity of any provision of this ordinance shall not affect the validity of any other provisions hereof, and such other provisions shall remain in full force and effect as long as they remain valid in the absence of that provision determined to be invalid. Section 6, this ordinance shall take effect and be in full force upon its effective date after its passage, and may be published in summary form and recording according to law passed by the city council this, the date, and so forth.
And that would be a first reading. Thank you.
Do you entertain questions?
I think we
Where in
can.
the world did July 15th come from?
See, actually, the House Bill 183, you know, which allows cities to repeal civil service in its entirety, and that's when it goes into effect.
That's when most of the bills go
Yep.
into effect.
Okay. One other thing, I hate to go backwards, but
That's all right.
on the appointment of the new chief,
Yep.
there's no effective date on that.
I know, I actually wrote it in on mine, so we'll actually have it corrected. Thank you. Thought there was.
By the way, that House bill I printed this week, it's 375 pages. So, yeah, there's a lot in it.
Whatever,
That's some reading.
dead trees everywhere.
Do you have any other questions, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Thank you. Next, we have discussions on 2014 M nuisance code. Basically, this thing's pretty, talk about reading stuff. Just to get into it, I just wanted to hit the highlights of what the 3 points were that were actually gonna be really into this ordinance change. One of them was, front yard planting and the amount you can use and have out in the front yard. The other one is chronic violators. It's actually gonna put some teeth in it, and you can read through it, but I didn't know if we needed, and it was pretty thick, so I asked Craig, maybe we just need to throw it on here and we can have a first reading at our council meeting, because everybody didn't get this, I think, until Friday or Monday. Craig was crazy getting ready to go out of town, so. And then the third one is the noise control, a little bit more meat to the noise ordinances and nuisances that we have. So those were the 3 things, and I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments, but I just wanted to point those out.
I have a question.
Yep.
If someone thinks there's a nuisance in their neighborhood, who do we call?
Call the city, call the office, or an officer, if they have it. If they have a barking dog or anything like that that's technically considered a nuisance, they can call an officer.
So it's not Northern Kentucky area planning?
No.
It's us?
It's us, and
Do we have a nuisance officer?
not yet. That was actually something I let slip, and it will be coming real soon. Yes. A lot of the things that we think are nuisances actually are under Northern Kentucky area planning. There's only a handful of these things that end up being nuisance that we will actually really get into, but yes, that's coming.
Has Northern Kentucky Area Planning vetted this document?
I don't believe so, Jim, to be honest with you. This actually came from, a good portion of it, I believe, came from part of the city of Fort Mitchell and Fort Wright's their nuisance ordinances, to my understanding. Is where a good portion of these changes came from. Yeah.
Question, so between the sidewalk and the street, which is city property, and I believe that is considered a nuisance, anything that is between that area, correct? Between the sidewalk and the street, which is right away.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a nuisance or not, just depends on what the problem is.
Well, didn't they tell us it was a nuisance? I just need to know, is our nuisance officer going to do that, or is NKAPC going to?
At this point, our nuisance officer would handle that. So if somebody puts a basketball hoop up, for example, in that, between the sidewalk and the street and the grass, then our nuisance officer would issue a citation, asking them to take it down, and then it would go through
Okay,
that.
and I read this, but I might have missed it, I did not see that in here, do you know if that?
That might be part of the
Part of
other,
the other one.
part of the original ordinance.
Craig.
Yeah, and again, that was pretty thick, and that's why it relates to the original ordinances that we have for nuisances also. I mean, these are just addendums and amendments. Any other questions?
Is this in response to something? I mean, I just look at a 17-page document for nuisance, and it just strikes me as something that,
Yes, there's several items, there's a couple of them, for example, we have problems with a couple properties that are, that this is aimed at hoping addressing. We also have several people that continue to violate excuse me, city ordinances, not only from a nuisance perspective, but this is also from a code enforcement violation. So if somebody continues to be a habitual or chronic, would probably be a better term, chronic offender of, I don't know, not cutting their grass, and every time, the only way they cut the grass is when they get a citation, but yet the citation doesn't carry any weight. Because this is gonna say, hey, now, if you get a citation, I forget what the numbers are, what the date, 3 times in 90 days, I don't know what the numbers are, then there is gonna be, you can't be held more accountable for it, is what it amounts to. Because we do have several of those people out there.
Several. If you ever want to take a ride with me, Jim, I'll
well, I mean, like on page 9, when it references murder and manslaughter, I get that could be a problem. But it
Again,
seems-
this was taken, and if we so chose to take some of those out of there, we could. Again, this was taken out of another city's, that was already put together for Mitchell's. I think.
Does this appear anywhere on our website? So if someone who had a basketball hoop between the sidewalk and the.
It would be with our link to our ordinances. This
But,
is
I mean,
an
do we have a
ordinance.
section where we could say, hey, this is a proposed ordinance, if you think it's a problem, you better come up and talk about it?
We do not do that. We do not put proposed ordinances because of the ability to change them and everything else, and then somebody reads it and they think it's law, and then all of a sudden it's not, because it either didn't get passed or it was changed midstream. It could be a real challenge. These are usually considered just draft documents.
I'm not sure I object to any of it, it just seems excessive, to be honest.
If there's anything you think we can take out, don't hesitate to shoot me or Craig an email and say, or, highlight it and say, I think this should go. That's not a problem. That's another reason why we just wanted it out for discussion right now. It hasn't even had a first reading. Item number 10 would be a draft ordinance, and again, this is for discussion and draft only, because we're not locked by time frame for this one, for the ballot initiative. The way this would work is, if we decided to move forward with this, to put this on the ballot, all we would have to do is have a first reading. This doesn't get a second reading or anything else. If it is given a first reading and requested by a council member, then this would be able to be, the ballot initiative would be able to go forward. And then what happens is if it passes, for example, in November, then there would be a second reading to actually finish the document. But you can't put something into law if it's not been pushed that way, to my understanding, by the residents. Ultimately, this is geared at basically replacing the vehicle sticker fee revenue, correct, Jim? It's
Yeah.
just,
So all
that's all it is. It's a transfer from vehicle sticker revenue to a increase in your property taxes to offset the, I can't say identical amount, but within a reasonable couple $1,000s or so either way, depending upon how the properties are evaluated by the PVA and what numbers were given. It's not to increase our revenues or anything like that. This is just to offset the vehicle sticker fee. And I think everybody's seen it. It's 3 cents per $100. And Jim, I think you mentioned it was like $76 on a $200,000 house. Did you tell me? $60? $60 on a $200,000 house. You can write it off on your taxes. It's cleaner, it's easier for us to manage internally. We don't have to worry about these vehicle stickers and sending letters. And I say you can write it off on your taxes. I will back up and put a caveat in there that you should always consult your tax person before taking my word for it. But typically, if it's a property tax, you can take it off on your taxes.
It's an ad valorem tax, but if you don't itemize, you're not gonna get the tax.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean, check with your,
But that's kind of immaterial. I mean, it's a $60 or maybe a $50, maybe a $100 expense, maybe $200. If your tax is $200, it means you've got a pretty big house, and you're probably not gonna worry about, the 35% you're gonna pay in tax. So that's probably not an issue. But the main issue is, do we wanna, since we can't do the vehicle license fee anymore, we can do it, but do we really want to hire an additional person to do the vehicle license fee and basically eat up part of that income, basically by paying somebody to do this, or do we want to find another mechanism to fund that same amount of money? And that's the question.
Well, the Bank of Kentucky, when they, part of their proposal was that they would help collect, which would help administration too. I mean, I'm just putting that out there. That was part of their, thing of what they were proposing to try to help us, like collect taxes and whatever, we could do that without
I'm not sure they were willing to collect
sticker.
stickers. That would be $40. You'd have, maybe 2,500
We don't
people
know that
coming in
for
the bank.
sure because
No,
we
we don't.
haven't had that
Agreed,
conversation.
agreed.
Yeah.
I like it. My only question is, do we just want to do this for 3 years, or do we want to bump it up to 5?
That's what the one I gave for Libby
The 3
a month
years.
ago.
and I think that's what this says, does it not?
Yeah,
Yes.
it does, and I'm
I
just
gave
saying,
correct.
I'm just asking the question,
You
do
did?
we want to think about 5 years instead of 3 years to go through it again?
I think as long as you're putting an end date, 5 is not really that long of a period, and I understand why
It's
Jim's
not.
trying to keep it shorter, but at the same token, we all know that the road is not going away. The road maintenance is not gonna, it's gonna be forever. We're gonna need
Right,
funds.
3 years just goes so quick that I was just wondering, and I'm all for putting an end date to it. I was just wondering if we want to consider 5 years, and then, just a thought. But this doesn't have any provision that the council can re-up this, correct, without the vote of the people? Okay, I just want to make sure that that's not,
But I don't know how that would work, to be honest with you, because it's an existing tax,
right?
so it would not be an increase at that time. So I don't know exactly how it would work. I don't know if they would have to go back to the taxpayers. We'd have to research that, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's something right they have to do. What we-
Right, well, I'm not proposing we do a first reading or anything.
No, this
I'm
was
just
only
trying
up for
to-
discussion, to
Right.
see where we're gonna go. If this council wants to move forward with it, then we will. I mean, meaning we will start getting more details, we'll get the, stuff put together, but if there's not an agreement, and I feel the same way as Jim. If we do not have a, all or nothing with the council and myself to move forward on this, we're gonna struggle to get it done, and is it really worth even going after?
I'm
Is that,
fine with
is that fair, Jim, to
Yeah, I
add your
think
name
if
to
we,
that?
if we don't have everybody singing the same song on this thing, it's never gonna pass. And I don't wanna spend a nickel to try to do something that isn't gonna work.
All we're aligning on is asking the voters to make the choice, right?
We are asking the voters to make
That,
that choice.
then what's wrong with that? You know, we looked at this 6 ways of Sunday at different options, and we really was.
Yep.
I agree.
Holly, how do you feel? You're quiet over there, you haven't said anything yet.
Well, I say no to taxes, so raising taxes, it's always
Vote
been my
against,
stance.
vote against it in November
I will.
then. Okay.
So does that mean you will,
We're doing good, we're mending things, we're saving some money. I just think, but it's up to the residents, if they wanna pay more taxes, it's up to them.
but they're not paying
They're not
more
paying
taxes.
more.
Well, I know, I just say that, I understand what you're saying.
But that's some of the challenge that comes out of this is, it's gonna be perceived by you or somebody else that that's exactly what's happening, and that's not necessarily the case. And if it's being said out there on the streets that that's the way it is, we're fighting a losing battle. And I think that's what Jim is trying to say. If I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Jim, but I feel comfortable that you've said it enough.
If we don't have 7 people behind this, then I want any part of it. And we'll find some other way to fund it. We're gonna find a way to fund it, because we don't have
We
a
have to.
choice.
Right.
So it's either do this, or we keep the insurance premium tax going at 7%, which I don't like, or we find some, and if somebody's got a better idea, I would love to hear it, because this is all I can come up with.
And
We already passed the insurance premium.
But the insurance premium would be repealed if this went into effect.
Well, it goes until what, July?
Well, as soon as
next year.
But we would
Right.
tell the insurance tax commissioner next March, because we have to do it that early, that we want to roll that back to 5% or 6%, whatever you guys decide.
Right.
But we could do that before this council left office, and that's what I'm trying to get done.
Right. And in the ballot question, it says that if, that they would we would repeal the motor vehicle license fee upon approval of this ballot question.
As-
So that's stated in here to let the people know that we would repeal that.
Is there a way to also put in there that we would also repeal the 2% increase in insurance premium when the process allows us to, which would be the middle of next year?
That's an attorney question, I guess.
I mean-
I don't know that answer.
I know that, trust me, we'll get 5 answers from down at the courthouse. Between Gary
I don't
Edmondson's
know.
office and Gabe and them, they go back and forth, but,
I don't know why you couldn't, because it says that we would repeal
Well-
the motor vehicle.
again, I don't know, but I mean, that would be another way to add in there that we're not increasing, all we're trying to do is transfer this revenue from one avenue to another.
I think, I look at it this way, that, we've talked about this and talked about it, we've tried to think of every way possible to fund this thing. And I think giving the people the right to say yes or no, and if they say no to this, then we know we've got to go this other avenue. If they say yes to it,
I have no problem with adding that verbiage that that if this passes, we will reduce the insurance premium tax to 5%.
yeah.
I just didn't know if you guys wanted to commit to it. Because 5% is basically the lowest in North Kentucky, except for those that don't have the tax. So 5% is pretty
Well,
rock
and-
bottom.
Well, I would want to do that because that would actually put us back to where what we're preaching. All we're doing is asking them to increase the tax on the,
Right, I think we made a commitment to take
Yes.
it off.
I mean, that's,
If you want.
and it's
put it
your
on the
vote,
ballot,
but-
Fine with me. I don't know why you couldn't put that on the ballot.
I don't know either, but I think it would just add more,
Well, I would,
credence to
I
what we're
would
trying to
bet
do.
most people don't even know they're paying a 2% increase in the insurance tax.
they don't because they haven't
And if
seen
they do
it
this,
yet.
then they'll know that they're paying both those taxes. We're gonna remove 2 taxes if they vote for this one.
When you think about it, there's gonna be more people that don't know about it than there are, because the only people are gonna be assessed are the people whose renewal comes up between July 1 and
January.
November 12th.
Yeah,
Those will be the only people that know.
yep. So what do we wanna do? Do we wanna continue to move forward with this?
I support putting, I'd like to see some changes in the question, but I support putting it on.
Yeah, and again, this is very preliminary.
I asked Craig if we could just change that, the entire middle of that thing to say road maintenance, instead of all the stuff that it talked about, signage and this and that and the other thing. People don't care. All they wanna know is it's for the roads.
Simplicity.
Right. Simpler as pay.
Right.
I'd like to bump it up to 5 years now.
What do you guys think of
That's not
that?
a problem.
Yeah, I've got the document I sent to Craig, I'll just modify it and send it again.
And then you have the license fee or the insurance fee.
Okay.
Anyone else have it or not?
Holly, would you support this?
No.
So we increase taxes one way, but to offset the cost, but you won't allow us to
But you're not
transfer.
supporting a tax increase. All we're doing is we're supporting,
Transfer.
given, no, we're not even doing that. All we're trying to align on is letting the voters decide. That's it. It's up to them. That's all we're trying to align on.
That's true.
If you don't want to pay the property tax, vote no. It's up to you. But all we're trying to say is, we want the citizens to have their say. That's, right? Right? Is that what we're after here? Alignment wise?
If we can't get 7, I'm gonna withdraw my support for this. Because this happened
Well,
once
one has to
before.
show
We did this in 1992, and exactly the same thing happened, where we had one council person that was campaigning against this thing, and it lost by 5 percentage points. I'm not going through that again. So if we can't come to an agreement, then I don't want any part of it. We'll just keep the insurance premium tax. I mean, that's where we are. If you want to support the insurance premium tax as opposed to this one,
That one we already passed. I
I
said vote
understand.
no on that one.
Okay. How do you want to finance city government?
I wanna see how things pan out. We're saving money.
Holly, I just dropped
Just-
268,000 to the surplus that we, you know, it won't be a
I
complete.
know, I think that's great. Well, why do we have to keep raising taxes?
We're not raising taxes. That's the other thing. We are not raising taxes.
Well,
And-
you did just raise the tax on the insurance. You raised it from 5 to 7. That is a raise in tax.
And we're also eliminating the vehicle sticker fee for the exact same amount.
Well,
So
that was
we're
a
not.
ridiculous $40 fee anyway.
It doesn't matter whether it was or wasn't. We did not raise the taxes. We transferred that income from one revenue
I
side.
still pay my sticker fee.
So do I.
So
This year?
I'm paying double, right? Right now, unless you give me my money back. I mean, just like, I'm just like anybody else living here in the city. I've already paid my sticker fee. So, and then you all just raised the insurance on, from 5 to 7. So I paid 2 more. I've paid my sticker and I paid the raise in the taxes. So I'm just saying, I mean,
But we're looking forward, and next year, we will not have the capability to collect the vehicle license fee.
I understand that.
Okay, so that insurance premium tax then replace the money that we
It's not
would
that
have.
we're incapable of collecting it, it's that we are choosing not to go that route. Because over the years, it has been collected at the city building. We could get some student in there to collect, we could have an intern. I mean, there's, a
It's not even
bank may
enforceable.
help us. I just don't know if we've explored all the different avenues besides putting out to raise the tax, and then Mary's gone from 3 to 5 years. So, on the property tax. It's
Far as I'm
costing
concerned,
me
it's
more
been-
money, it's gonna be costing a lot of people a lot more money.
And it's gonna be costing
Then
some
I
people
want
less
car.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
Well, I think the thing with the surplus, just kind of, the way I look at it anyway, is that, you know, we have the surplus, we know we've got this special situation out there with spiking. But again, we all have wish lists, that we want to see progress done in the city, things that have been neglected for a while, and we're playing catch up on that. I mean, we could easily spend $280,000 in wish list stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
You
we
know,
could get those weeds maybe cut down.
well, we could do a lot of things but then we'd have no money for roads. Or we take that $280,000 and put in roads, but then we wouldn't have anything for wish list, for new equipment and things like that. So I think it's kind of a trade-off to fund the roads. I mean, they're just,
But then again, maybe we should look at some alternatives on how to fix the roads. You don't wanna do that.
we've looked at, it's not that I don't wanna do that, don't say that.
Wow.
We looked at that, I looked at that, the mayor looked at that, we looked at that when I took over Public Works, within the first 3 months. I made the call, I looked at it, Buck looked at it, Mayor, we did that. They just talked to you about it, and it's the same thing that we went and talked about when we took over Public Works. They have a different philosophy than what we have. It's just a difference of opinion. It doesn't mean one's right, one's wrong, or anything. It's just different on how they handle it.
But they're saying they're saving twice the money, they're saving twice the money and getting almost all their roads done in 2 years' time. And I know we have more roads than that,
Yes, we have more roads than they have.
but I don't know why we just can't listen to what they're doing.
I've listened.
I
I've
know,
sat
I
in
was
a
there
meeting
with you,
them.
Mary, I was there too.
Well, don't say I didn't look at it. I mean,
No,
you
but
were
I
saying
asked you to
that.
go again this year, and you said no, you didn't want
Because
to
it's
talk
the
to them.
same thing I've already talked to them about. I
Because-
understand their
But I
program.
think we should at least make an attempt to be friendly with them too, to see what else they're doing in their public works, because it seems to be running fine. So, they have 4,000 in overtime, and they don't even use it. And they have 3 full-time people and 3 part-time people.
Well, they have more than that. I think they're up to either 5
Well-
or 6, if not 7 part-time.
It doesn't, you know,
But those are part-time, they're just like Bill Gardner people, some of those.
but
We may
it's-
be
it
able
all
to share
comes
the
down-
salt garage if we get on good terms with them.
Been down that road too.
Well, I mean,
Maybe you
why
can
not
pull
try it
something off,
again?
maybe you can pull something
It
off
sounds like,
that,
you know what it sounds like, you know, I'd be really open, Holly, if you wanna sit down with, that other city and you wanna come up with some ideas and some
Yeah.
great things, you know, bring them to us, we'll listen.
Well, they said if Mary doesn't wanna come, then why bother?
Well,
Because
well,
Mary
I've already been
chairs,
there.
Mary chairs Public Works.
Well, that
I
doesn't
just
matter.
put- that
I
doesn't-
understand that.
That doesn't matter, you're on
Um,
Public Works, you can come, I mean, you can share the thing.
So anyway, let's move on because we're really starting to digress into
Well,
something
I'm
off of
just,
this.
well,
And-
this is what we're supposed to be talking about in the caucus meeting, right?
Yep, I,
Ideas,
yep,
okay? Just trying to save taxpayers' money.
so at
that's
this
all.
point, since Holly is not in favor of it, are we gonna just kill this ballot issue and be done with it, or what are we gonna do?
It's up to you.
I mean, I support it and understand it, but I'm trying to respect you as well, Jim, because I know how you feel.
I'm not gonna proceed without that. So we'll just find another way.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a general discussion. Mary, do you have anything?
Last, I don't,
Nope.
no, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't-
think I have.
Okay. Brian?
Does it cost, back to the ballot initiative, does it cost us any money
No, it does not.
to go with this? And just throw it out there and
Well, it's gonna cost us a lot of time.
a lot of talk?
We're gonna have to do public meetings, we're gonna have to have meetings at River Ridge, at Belladonna, we're gonna have to have all kinds of things
Can we not just
prepared.
send out a flyer?
We can,
Or
when you have a
mailer?
public meeting, it's great for interaction and people can ask questions to get a better understanding of what it's about. That really helps. We have had, you know, there 125 people show up at some of the meetings in the past. I mean, so there's a group that will come out that have a lot of questions asked and answered. So we usually try and get cable involved, so, you know, so it's a good, you know, communication
What
tactic.
time?
a couple times,
2 times?
2 or 3.
But it's gonna take, Public Works is gonna have to spend a lot of time putting together the rationale, you know, the documentation for what we're trying to do. And then finance will have to put some time in on exactly what was considered and what wasn't considered and why we went with this particular proposal. And God knows we don't wanna do any flyers in the city building, so we have to go outside and have those prepared. So, yeah, there's not much cost.
No, yeah, the cost itself is just our time and
Yeah,
energy.
time and energy on it. I understand. I guess my other request, is there any way we can have the Public Works Director show up at the city meetings? Can you do that for us once a month?
I'll look
Because
into that.
sometimes I've got some questions and I ask you and I understand you're third party and I'm not attacking you or anything, or it's like
I
the buck
talked
said.
about that, and he said he would be happy to. I think it was stopped, he used to come years ago, and I think it was stopped because basically he got paid overtime to do it, so, but I think you could probably work out a comp time thing with him as far as.
Maybe we can get them to come quarterly or something.
Every other month
Whatever
or
the
something?
mayor wants,
Yeah.
I think he's flexible.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
Don't hesitate to remind me.
I can do that.
Please. Miss Sue, do you have anything? You're just writing away and...
No, I don't.
Holly?
The Reds Kid Glove tickets are on sale. There is a form at the city building. The games are the San Diego, Padres, Jesus, I have my glasses on. Los Angeles Dodgers, Chicago Cubs. And, or you can call this number, 859-578-0828, if you have any questions. And I have, Melissa, if you could get this some way, shape, or form to help them out. This is to raise, they get part of the ticket money to buy equipment for the
Instructional
veterans.
baseball league.
Yeah,
For the kids.
so they need new equipment.
Whatever they could do, that would be
And
great.
they've they've called you too, but
Maybe not you.
not you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to-
With the change and the transition and
Yeah,
everything, I'm sure it's all
nothing's
lost.
kinda gotten out about this, but I
Can you
appreciate
pass her
it.
that flyer,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, I
That
can,
would suggest something. Thank you.
I appreciate that, thank you. And then we are having, the Civic Club basically is having this, Memorial Day weekend, Friday night. It's a, fishing, night fishing tournament. I think the kids start, Joe is supposed to get me the information, he's in, somewhere working, and
Well, maybe we'll have it for the council meeting, and then it'll be on TV and stuff.
Right.
More PR. but-
so we're gonna, but she could get, Melissa could get it out maybe in the paper, that they're
Give them a call.
gonna, and it's a family camp out at Franzen Fields, Franzen Lake.
It's Lake Nutini. It's at
Well, it'll always be
Fields.
Franzen Lake to me. They donated the property, so it's Franzen Lake.
Franzen
but
Fields is
Franzen
Nutini.
Fields, the Villa Hills Civic Club,
Yep. Is that it, Holly?
yes.
Thank you. Rod? Oh, sorry, question?
The race.
5K.
Oh, yes, that's this weekend,
Yep, 5K this weekend.
5K.
Mel, sent me an
Should
email.
be all on the website, the routes.
They did get it all confirmed that the road won't be
It
tore
starts
up.
at, Lauren, what time does it start?
8:30.
I think they start registering people between 7 and 7:30, if I read that something correctly, or somewhere in that vicinity. Up at the Crescent Springs Community Park is where it's organized.
The troop Friday night, be in town, troop,
Friday night, they will be.
they're gonna run on Saturday.
I guess she sent you the information. You can go ahead and talk about it.
That's all right.
Something else. Fine.
finance meeting is gonna have to be moved. It was scheduled for Memorial Day. That's probably not a very good day to have a finance meeting, so we're gonna move it to Tuesday, the 27th. It will be a special meeting because of the move. So I'll have an agenda out and I'll get it to Craig for publishing.
Did you get that, Mark? Did you get that, Mr. May?
Will the door be unlocked?
Yeah, we'll be across the street.
We're gonna lock the door.
Oh, they won't lock the door.
With you inside.
Oh,
A little different approach. Second thing is medical self-insurance. Where do we stand on that?
Thank you. I was actually gonna bring that up as well, since, there is a group, as everybody, we talked about it at the council meeting. Basically, it's a I wanna say self-funded, but it's self-insured, with how, there's terminology different, and I understand that. There's a group of 18 organizations, governmental organizations in Northern Kentucky, I'm kind of recapping for Rod a little bit, that are trying to get together to put a self-funding type of, or self-insured group together, like they've done throughout the state. Boone County Fire Districts and departments all do it. We went to a meeting on May 3rd, I think, no, it wasn't May 3rd, excuse me, might have been the 6th last week, to meet with the 18 to help find out exactly who wants to go forward, who doesn't. At that meeting, a group of them decided, most people are ready to move forward, or at least consider it once we get firm numbers. And a group of those communities put together a interlocal agreement. One of the things they asked if this could happen by July 1, and I said, good luck, personally, trying to get an interlocal agreement done. We've tried that for the last 5 months. So that group did put one together, and it was sent out this afternoon. I have not seen it yet, so I don't know what it looks like. That every city, every organization, I would think, would have to take it to their city attorney for the blessing and everything else. So as soon as the other thing, Jim, out of that meeting came, since we're now within a 60-day range, everybody had to fill out the form fire again to be able to get firm quotes, to get an understanding, because insurance companies won't give you a quote outside of 60 days, or won't give you a true number, if you will, or a firm quote outside the 60-day range. A lot of questions still to be answered, Jim. What if we can't logistically make it happen for our city on July 1, but we could August 1, Some of those type of questions came up at the meeting, and it's like, as long as I think everybody was, close, they're gonna find a way to make it happen. So as soon as I get the interlocal agreement, if you guys would like to see it, we'll send it out. I haven't seen it again. And of course, again, it has to go through the city attorney to make sure what it looks like and what the rates will be and everything else once we get a final number. Anything else, Jim? Is that pretty much what you're looking, okay? And believe it or not, I think everything else has been talked about. That's taken care of. Those are all done. And then the last thing I have is another executive session. Discussions about pending or threatened litigation pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph C, and discussions which may lead to the appointment, dismissal, or discipline of an employee pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph F. And do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? And by the way, folks, when we get done, we will actually be done for the night. We won't come back and make any decisions or comments or anything else like that. So if you want to sit here and wait, you can, but if you don't, depending upon what everybody does, we might get to stay up here. Hey, Jim? Thank you very much. You can wrap it up, and I'll just write down.